Welcome, climate viewers, and happy Mother's Day. It's Sunday once again, and I'm Jim Lee from Climate Viewer News at climateviewer.com. The Sunday chat. So I plan on doing this at 3 o'clock every Sunday, and I think we're going to move this up to 1 o'clock on Sunday next week. So I'll go ahead and try to schedule it in advance. I'm going to see if I can get it to work with Streamlabs so that I can go ahead and have the event up. And that way we could do some lengthy call-ins, similar to what we did last week where we had, a caller call in, but have more of them. The problem is that I am not too good at looking at the calendar. And when I decided I was going to do this week at 3 o'clock, I was like, oh yeah, it's Mother's Day. And I don't know what your Mother's Day traditions look like, but for me, it's taking the kids over to my mom's house. We already did that. Had some fried chicken, rice and gravy, and some macaroni and all that sort of stuff. And at 5 o'clock, which is in less than 2 hours, I will be doing, basically grilling steaks for all the mothers on my wife's side of the family. So I'm kind of limited on a time scale here. And I probably should have just postponed this. But, promises are promises. So that being said, I don't know if we're going to take some calls this week. If somebody wants to call in right now, let me know, in the chat, and I'll bring up the phone and all that. But, I just kind of wanted to throw some ideas out there. I was looking at a video just recently, and it was by the Infowars, okay? As you can see here. And the name of this video is Elon Musk, the New World Order puppet exposed on Infowars. And it's by Jason Burmis. Now, I know that, I've talked a little bit about Elon Musk and, the Twitter showdown that's going on. And, I'm hopeful. Okay. So, of course, you've always got to get the alternative view. And a lot of people in the comments on my video were basically saying, well, he was a young globalist, for the World Economic Forum and all these things. So I wanted to hear the other side of the story. But then I went and somebody sent me this video here, and I watched it for what it's worth with an open mind. And at the end of the day, I'm not buying it. Basically they made the argument, well, works for DARPA. Come on, Jim, don't be a derp. Can't be true. He's working with the military. There's no way that, this guy's cool. Is talk about switching and data centers. Tell you what, I'll fire up the phone call for that. So let's just put that up there for now, and I'll grab the headset. How about that? Let's do the thing. Give me a call. That being said, I listened to this, this podcast from, Infowars. Gotta love them, right? Allow that, make that here. Hold on. Quick setup on the headset. Already set up there, and here, and boom, we're ready to go. Feel free to call away. And at the end of the day, they made a whole lot of straw man arguments. And the thing that's most telling is, like, anytime I hear Infowars, I'm like, I'm not buying it. And the reason why is because, at multiple points during the video, they said, you are not safe. You are not safe. What's up? Is this a name in chat? All right, my name is Robert Paulson.
You got it, brother.
This Tyler?
Yes, sir.
Hey, what's up, big dog?
Not much.
We've had a couple emails back and forth for everybody who's not in the know. What you want to chat about, brother?
Switch, the company Switch, and their data centers.
Okay.
I'm not sure how much you've peered into them. They just happen to be building one down the street from my office, and kind of surprised by their infrastructure, and got to digging into it. And I mean, these are basically power generating plants. I mean, they're talking
super nap data centers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Rob Roy.
Yep.
He's 500 patents. He's been around for a little while. I wasn't going to say, but yeah, I find it very interesting that they're off the grid. They're completely off the grid. But yet they are generating, at least the one that I'm around, 500 megawatts. I think the one in Michigan, they're talking like 1,200. I mean, these are as much as a coal plant.
Yeah.
And they're converting data, obviously, using it, water-cooled, heat, steam, and they're running the steam turbines to generate the power. And I just find that kind of interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about the Internet of Things, and that's what's going to be generating power. Human digital activity converted to electricity. Kind of creepy.
I would agree with you. So of course it's the first I'm hearing about it, and I'm looking at it right now with 515,000 square foot facility. Their 7th data center, a Super NAP 7. And I mean, that's a pretty interesting looking building just in and of itself. I don't know if you're watching the chat with it muted. I have put on weight, chat. I'm building back those muscles, man. Having Graves' disease eats your muscle. And now I'm back to the old me. And it feels absolutely freaking wonderful. So are you calling me fat? Are they fat shaming me, or are they just saying I don't know. I'm not even gonna guess. Chat's being it's Fred. It's Fred Pinard. He's being nice. I'm sure of it. So all right. So tell me about how they're generating the energy though, because that's what I'm not seeing so far.
Well, some of the research from odd timing, but around 08, 09. A lot of research was done in I think they were looking at the data. So they were processing, the way they were processing data and then cooling it, and they had to be on the grid. Well, somehow, they realized if they tripled the amount of data going into these centers, that they could produce a considerable amount of heat. And obviously these server rings are water cooled. So now when you triple that amount of data, you're going to triple the heat, you're going to create steam. Those steams are running mercury, solar.
Well, that's basically every nuclear power plant on the planet is, they boil water to make energy. So it makes sense that if you were generating that much energy, that you could turn that into electricity. I don't see how has nobody done this yet, is what I'm trying to figure out. Right.
I think it's the data. Data, the amount of it seems to be the push for the Internet of Things.
Yeah.
Just, seems to be, I mean, that's what they're roundabout talking. And I keep looking for the steam, like a nuclear power plant. Well, at the backside of these turbines, they run chillers.
Yeah.
condense the water back, and they dump them back into the water column.
The wet surface air coolers.
Yep, Chattahoochee River, in and out down here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into their stuff because now you got me real curious about how much power they're actually generating. Because I mean, in their own literature right here, they're not bragging about generating their own power. They're bragging about how much. Wait, hold on. Following multi-megawatt expansion. No, still just talking about how much power they use, not how much power they generate.
Right. Well, all of the switch, they're off the grid. So very interesting that you have data servers that have no grid hookup for their own backup power supply. Well, there's a lot of stuff talking about batteries too.
They've got an interesting term up there, the fourth cloud. That's kind of interesting. Just that fourth part, is kind of interesting in and of itself. But they're basically saying open NAP. So what are they trying to replace the major backbones of the internet with a secondary system?
I think they're replacing the backbone of the grid, because a lot of the talk that Rob Roy, in his patents is about the voltage drop or power loss through running long lines. Now,
yeah,
it makes sense, electrically, but again, my nervous start would be they're building 4 of these things in each corner of the country, and seems like they're gonna separate some things, and they're pushing they're trying to get rid of the long line power generation. I mean, it's weird that they're so concerned with voltage loss and all this with these data centers, and they're the ones that are going to be generating.
Well,
and it's a good. The interesting thing is how the reason certain state governments are getting into it is because of the green incentives for it. So there's always that wonderful fourth industrial revolution hand washing there.
The thing that's creepy about it is like I'm trying to think of their name right now, but basically like all of the major backbones of the internet, run through NSA data centers. And Akami, that's what I'm thinking of. Akami Technologies?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so like a long time ago in another life when I didn't have my real name on the internet, we'll leave it at that. I started noticing that a lot of my stuff was getting routed through Akami Technologies, and or the company I was working for, I was their network administrator, that a lot of the attacks that were originating on our tire company were coming from Akami. And these major backbones, for those who don't know, if you're like watching this at home, so you're connecting to your local internet service provider, who is then connecting to a larger network, which then hits a network access point, which is this open NAP that they're talking about. I don't know how open it actually is. I'm going to have to do a little research on this. Obviously, you know more than I do. But network access points basically then allow them to get on these major backbones where there's multiple bundles of fiber optics at extreme speeds that then, they're kind of the interstates of the internet that get you around. So at some point, you're going to hit one of these major backbones, as they're called, of the internet. And then you're going to go down that, interstate till you get off the interstate and go to the website you're looking at, whether it be, your small local server or YouTube or Facebook or whatever. A lot of the major, institutions, the Silicon Mafia, they have direct backbone connections because of the amount of, plus there was the whole FCC debacle about, oh gosh, I can't think of the name of it right now. That whole thing that happened under Obama when they were trying to net neutrality, where they were trying to argue that internet service providers should be able to basically sell how much bandwidth each company could get, and then websites like mine, like ClimateViewer.com, could basically essentially be snuffed out of the internet because Netflix gets a certain amount of your bandwidth, period. And Comcast and all the major providers were in on this deal, and they called it net neutrality, which is the exact opposite of what it would have ended up being. So they had PIPA and SOPA, they tried to pass, and now we've got the whole disinformation board coming out at the Department of Homeland Security. So it really begs the question, how much of the internet will remain free when there are obvious gates that can be kept, with, backbones like Akami, with, Amazon, web services, AWS, basically, like, I think like 80% of the major websites are on Akami, are on Amazon. And of course, back to Elon Musk just tweeted, which I thought was absolutely freaking hilarious. I don't know if you caught this one, but this is a game changer right here. Elon Musk says Twitter acquisition completes. Company will be super focused on hardcore software engineering, design, infosec, and server hardware. So not only is he planning on firing every manager, and I thought this was absolutely hilarious, every manager that does not know how to program. So if you don't program, you're out. Which I think is freaking hilarious. But did he specifically mentioning server hardware? Because Twitter is, essentially still beholding to Jeff Bezos, who runs the servers. And everybody knows this was like, I think Parler was the one that really got kicked in the nads when they launched, and then they started to grow rapidly, and then Amazon just shut them down. And that's why True Social was coming up with its own hardware. Gab, I believe, also runs its own server farms. So this is something most people don't talk about. They generally don't even think about it. But really, at the end of the day, it's about who owns your, owns your data and how it's being controlled. So having open, data centers would be a good thing if they truly are open. So I'm kind of wary when I see terms like open NAP. And I'm definitely going to look into it. And you've already got my email clearly, so send me some more on that. And
well, can I throw one more thing out there in regards to Elon, and I'll get off the horn?
Yeah, sure.
If you're building electric vehicles, and I am now, this is something that I won't speak much of, but I do have a lot, and we could talk, in different areas. If you're going to be getting the data like what you're going to get from Twitter, and you're already talking about the hardware, and you already are focused on building an infrastructure to charge your vehicles, here's your power plant. You know what I mean? He's got his power plant. This is the coal that they're burning to charge these cars. That's going to happen.
Well, I mean, he's even gone on the record to say, that, look, I'm all for renewable energy. I understand that we need to get off of, and I hate the term fossil fuels, but he basically said you need to open the floodgates right now because prices are out of control, and we can't just shut everything off today and immediately go to a fully sustainable electric world. And of course, Elon's pro nuclear. Somebody in the chat asked if I was pro nuclear. I'll be clear on that. I'm pro nuclear if we're talking about I think it was thorium reactors. Are you familiar with these?
Yes.
Okay, so like thorium reactors, they produce no radioactive waste. To my knowledge, let me know in chat if I'm wrong. but they had a competition basically that was going down for funding in the federal government between these super small scale, reactors and the thorium reactors. And I was all go thorium reactors because then you've got something that, while it does modify weather with the wet surface air coolers, anybody who lives around a nuclear power plant or a coal power plant for that matter can see that these plants generate massive clouds, that cover the sky. I got one chatter saying thorium is a scam, bro. I don't know. It's been a couple of years since I looked into that. But to be clear about it, any cesium, plutonium, any of the radioactive nuclear power plants, they all gotta go. I mean, at the end of the day, one only needs to take a look at. Huh?
They can't make weapons out of thorium.
Exactly. That's my point. So if you look at the Hanford nuclear site and you look at all of the accidents, the spills, the crazy just shit that's going on with nuclear, you realize that this stuff is not something that ever goes away. I mean, the half-life of plutonium, uranium, you're talking thousands of years. So it's not something that you could generate on a worldwide scale that's going to be sustainable, because it produces waste that's going to be deadly to all health, not just human health, for thousands of years. So unless we're actually planning on then putting them on SpaceX rockets and shooting them into the sun, what's the solution there? Oh, by the way, shooting rockets into space burns holes in the ionosphere and changes upper atmospheric chemistry. Also a bad idea, Harry Wexler. So yeah, there really aren't any good solutions for this. And that's really where I'm at with that.
Both of us live too close to SRS to.
Yeah, Savannah River nuclear site's creepy as hell, and I'm downwind of that bad boy. So yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on there. Like they talk about turning nuclear waste into hollow porous glass balls for everything from fighting climate change to nuclear medicine. So using depleted uranium, different, radioactive waste to make these hollow, they called it, the paper was called microspheres for micro worlds. And in it, they said specifically to fight climate change. And then on a certain interview I read, somebody said that they were filling those balls with sulfur and putting them in jet fuel because they would survive the burning process, and then they would loft these tiny microspheres into the atmosphere that were filled with sulfur, which would diffuse sunlight and cool the planet. Geoengineering. And then the flip side to that they could put different chemicals, medicines, vaccines, who knows, and use them as a delivery system for those sorts of things. So yeah, everything to do with nuclear creeps me out. A lot of the depleted uraniums used in weapons like the A-10 Warthog's 30 millimeter bullets, the Sabo rounds that are fired from the M1 Abrams tanks to the Bradley fighting vehicles, which led to Gulf War syndrome, which led to all the birth defects all across Iraq, which led to the Japanese saying that we committed a war crime, which led to a 9.0 earthquake telling Japan to shut the fuck up. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but that's just the sequence of events. Okay. So I am anti-nuclear. I don't think it's a good idea. unless they can create a nuclear there's got to be a more efficient way to boil water is all I'm saying. And that the nuclear power plant scam is that it produces waste that can be used to make nuclear bombs, and we shouldn't be making any more of those, let alone ever have invented them in the first place. So why the hell would we continue that process? Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, well, good. But I get a lot of people there, especially one very vocal individual who keeps saying, update us on Fukushima. And at the end of the day, like that's one of the major things that got me into this. And I literally mapped out all 440 nuclear reactors on the planet, mapped out every nuclear, explosion, meltdown that's occurred, 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, Fukushima, radiation levels, all of that sort of thing. And then there's the flip side. Have you heard this shit where people literally say that there is no such thing as nuclear bombs, that they're all TNT?
All right, yeah, tinfoil hat.
I mean, yeah. And I'm going, all right. I don't know if you know this, but I was born on Vandenberg Air Force Base, and that my father was a nuclear missile launch technician. He actually sat in a silo during the Cuban Missile Crisis with his key to fire a Minuteman III nuclear missile. He's fired them. He's watched them blow up. He's armed the warheads. And a funny side story, one time they were driving a Minuteman III missile from one silo to another. This is classified, so hope I don't get you in trouble, Dad. It ain't Father's Day. But they were driving a Minuteman III missile to another silo when it overturned in a ditch because of blizzard conditions. And they literally had to bring out the Black Hawk helicopters and block off like 100 miles of interstate in each direction. Till they could get the truck, flip back over, get the nuclear missile back on the back of the truck. And I can only imagine. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Most people don't even know that fracking produces radioactive waste, and they have these things called dirty socks. And basically the socks are like these plungers that they put in there whenever they ram the gases in. And then whenever they come back out, they've got this, sack that's filled with radioactive waste. And if you look up dirty socks, radiation, they find them
throwing them behind gas stations and stuff.
Yep. Literally somebody stuffed a gas station full of them. Like if they dumped them in right next to the toilets out back of a gas station, like several 100 pounds of radioactive dirty socks. So at the end of the day, I talk, if you go to climateviewer.com/EMF, you can see that I talk about electromagnetic radiation there. And I also talk about nuclear radiation. I don't like either. I'm sensitive to EMF, and I don't like radiation because I don't want to grow a third arm or have some birth defects, not have any more kids. But, people will have kids, and radiation is bad. So that's the simple version of the answer to that. Now, with this switch thing, converting heat to energy is a thing. Taking that heat and then using it to boil water to then turn turbines seems like a very inefficient way to generate electricity. Yes,
Mercury solar turbines. They're pretty efficient, and that's what I believe Switch is running.
Okay, Mercury 50 solar turbines. Gas generator set, Mercury 50s. Okay. And I've seen a lot of these where they have these lofting facilities where they basically have and I actually interviewed one of the scientists previously who was talking about these. They have these large cones where basically the heat from the solar panels are then funneled into this chamber so that the updraft of the heat that's naturally generated from the solar panels then turns a propeller. So it works pretty much just like like hydroelectric dams, but with hot air. Same kind of idea. Um, but I mean, yeah,
Well, and also water, electricity, you got hydrogen. So that is
yeah.
also when they're talking about fuel cells at these places a potential, which
Well,
would be far efficient
the
over
thing,
just heat
the
and steam.
to chat, yes, I experienced tinnitus. I actually, if has anybody ever got the twitching eye, like literally been looking in the mirror and watch your eye can just twitching uncontrollably? If you've ever experienced that, you're getting the severe symptoms of EMF poisoning. But yeah, I can walk into a house and if my wife has the Wi-Fi on, I'm like, the Wi-Fi's on. Or when I get in bed at night, I can tell that the cell phone is still on in the other room. And then I go hunting for it and I find it and it's on and I turn it off. It's not paranoid delusion. It's just you are very, you can become sensitive to this. Some people are not sensitive to it at all. I am very sensitive to it. If I go to a Walmart, between the fluorescent tube lighting, all of the Wi-Fi, mesh network they've got over the entire super Walmart, and then every moron walking by me with a cell phone, I don't think I could stand a concert like I used to go to Fish and Grateful Dead concerts. I don't think I could go to a concert today without walking out of there feeling like I was microwaved to death because everybody in there's got a cell phone. Um, People don't think about that. So, I mean, you're talking about specific absorption rate. And whenever they rated these things, they rated them for like 4 watts apiece. Oh, but that's just one individual. Now, what happens when you jam 400 people in a 20 square foot, circle? That specific absorption rate, goes up exponentially. So electrosensitivity is a thing. And I did a hacking thing over in Colombia where we were hacking for good, and I spent the night in one of the ideology building. It was basically a lock-in, and we spent 24 hours programming an app to clean up pollution. And by midnight that night, I was deathly ill because basically, like, we were on like maybe like 11th or 12th floor, and every single floor on that building had multiple sets of Wi-Fi, and just all of it in total just fried me to death to where I was migraine, burning eyes, severe tinnitus, uncontrolled muscle spasms. It's a thing. With that being said,
Does it bother you in a car? You're driving a car?
It's totally it's dependent. If anybody ever wants to do a real experiment on electro smog and see how much you're being exposed to like dirty power from power lines, put it on the AM setting. Don't put it on FM, put it on AM. Usually go low on the dial, either the lowest settings on the dial or the highest settings on the dial for frequency. And as you're driving around town, if you're not on a radio station, which there aren't very many, so it shouldn't be hard, as you pass under street lights or certain places, you're just going to hear wow, like that. And that is basically dirty electricity. That is electro smog. So,
can I speak to that real quick, Tim?
Yeah, go ahead.
On that? For the other thing about AC, the reason I was mentioning the cars is it's running off DC. You go out there and go grab your battery. You want to notice it, right?
Yeah.
Positive or negative. DC is organic. It's what Tesla was all about. AC is a problem. AC, off gas, they ionize the atmosphere, creating ground level ozone. And if anybody needs to look at anything, they need to spend a little time looking at the health effects.
Should I show them the graph that you noticed on my article?
Yes, sir.
So we were going back and forth on some emails, and he noticed this cloud ionization article that I had back from 2014, and in it Other side. Here we go. So down at the bottom, there's actually a little graph that shows how all this works. And I think it's right here. Yeah, that was it, right? All right, so galactic cosmic ray. Well, let's bring that up to a different tab. Better.
Yeah, I think it was the ground antennas.
Where's the other one? That's not it. That's okay. There it is. So this is like the overview, and this is the real fancy. I'm a scientist. Let's get deep in this, orifice. Galactic cosmic rays, radioactivity from space, what leads to ionization, ultrafine particle and condensation nuclei form. So GCR and ionization from and radioactive, all of the different, energetic, wavelengths coming from space create ionization with cloud condensation nuclei, which form clouds. Okay. So this is the general idea of how clouds are formed. And then if you get a little deeper into it, what you realize is, that artificial lightning creates high temperature with a fraction of a second. High temperature creates national bonds of nitrogen and O2 that N2, O2 break up, okay? And that's nitrous oxide, basically. Break up into active nitrogen and oxygen. A little bit more math, and then we get down here, we see that excited nitrogen and oxygen form nitrous oxide and ozone. And then I'm gonna have to actually get the whole
as the corona.
Yeah. And that NO and O3 formations are by endothermic reactions. Large amount of heat energy is required for endothermic reactions, which is taken from the surrounding atmospheric clouds. Heat is absorbed, condensation takes place in the atmosphere. So the atmosphere is damn complicated. And the funny thing is that people who create these climate models, they don't understand half of this. It's certainly
they don't understand electrical at all.
Yeah, they don't take the electrical into account at all. If you guys Google DuckDuckGo electric universe, you're gonna get way closer to the truth of how our entire system works.
How about the ecology of the bioelectric world? Even better, if you want to know how even they know, well, some. They can look at the electrical charge of predator versus prey and be measured via electric.
The funny thing is that what I was going to say first is that whatever you're talking about climate change models, they don't take into account things like solar cycles, how cloud cover affects climate, what long-term implications of that are. They definitely wants you to focus on CO2. But for most of us, we're worried about pollution. We're worried about things that are going to affect our health. So that's why you see the craze about 5G. That's why you see the concerns about electromagnetic pollution, from blue light to, being artificially, lit up by, Doppler radars, for instance. Most people don't realize that weather radar, if you're living on the 20th floor of a building, you literally have a 750,000 watt beam that's being struck through your house every couple seconds, because it's spinning around in a circle. There are so many different sources of ionization. Ground wave from basically like, which was naturally produced by thunder. There are a lot of scientists out there that believe that our nervous system was, developed as a result of the natural reaction to the electric nature of our globe. That the Earth has the Earth has a heartbeat. It's called the Schumann resonance. There are actual multiple Schumann resonances. Most people only talk about the 7.83 hertz, which is the dominant one, but there are multiple more And that's what Tesla, he was really big on this sort of thing of understanding that there is a an abundance of energy in the sky at any given time, that if you tap the breast of heaven, that you could literally have unlimited energy. But it begs the question, why has nobody even attempted to? Why has science not gone in that direction at all? Why are we even still using batteries for, FFS? Why are we even talking about these the batteries they're using nowadays, when things like graphene can literally be used to make a battery that works as a supercapacitor that can hold a charge 100 times longer and be charged, fully charged, in like 30 seconds. So I think,
And DC electricity was much more prominent. In the 1800s, 1835 through around 1865, and it was mostly everything was DC. I mean, even the London Center or Channel Rail, it was DC for a long time, to the point they had to put ozone generators in there. And then when they switched to AC, then they no longer had to use ozone generators, because those motors created ozone themselves.
yeah,
DC is a
but
different lightning DC.
you also had, wasn't Edison was working with him. Who was the other guy that was out there frying people, frying cats in the street with the AC? I can't remember.
That's the Edison boys.
Yeah, that was
Those
Edison.
guys. I mean,
They didn't
I
like
don't
it
want to get down
because
a rabbit hole,
they were always, DC is the way to go. AC is dangerous. It's going to kill everybody. And there actually is some truth to that. I was looking into a situation where people don't realize it, but you could be in your shower, and while you're in your shower, once that water actually makes it into the pipes, especially if they're old iron pipes, you are now grounded. And that people were basically being, I wouldn't say electrocuted, but that because there was already a plethora of electro smog in their house, from the AC wires in the walls to some people that literally had high powered transmission lines over their house, that whenever they would get in the shower, by having that water on them and then it's going into the drain and then being grounded, that they were actually getting massive amounts of electricity. I read a couple papers on that, and I was like, well, there's something to think about. Fix that with a nice rubber. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that, but some anti-grounding technology in my bathtub. But let's just put it this way: there are so many different ways to be harmed by electromagnetic radiation, not to mention the intentional ones. That when people call me and they say I'm a targeted individual, I say, the usual. Do you sleep with? Do you have Wi-Fi in your house? Do you leave it on all day? Do you sleep with it on? Do you have a cell phone? Is it near your bed? Do you leave it on while you sleep? And then I work on down the list. When's the last time you went outside, put your bare feet on the ground and grounded yourself? And by the time I'm done, I would say 95% of the conversations I've had on the phone with people who called me who said they were targeted individuals answered yes to all of the questions. And I've had maybe 5, one of which was a prominent YouTuber, that said that after learning this information, it changed their life completely. That they were able to adapt and deal, and they don't have any of the symptoms anymore. So everything in my house is wired. Of course, because I don't have my studio built yet, and I'm in the house on Mother's Day, my wife and her mother are in the backyard. So we're going to have to wrap this up pretty quickly. I may be able to take one other quick caller, but Tyler, it's good to hear from you, brother, man. Send me some more information on Swift. Try to dig into how they're generating their power. I would love to, hear that. And, we'll check that out. Okay.
We'll do, brother. Thank you.
Hey, man. Good talking to you. Happy Mother's Day to you too, man.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, that was pretty awesome. So, yeah, Tyler's been sending me some pretty cool stuff. Frederick, you sure you targeted? Because, bro, if they're targeting anybody, they're going to target me. And if they're targeting you and they're not targeting me, I'm not going to say I'm jealous, but, bruh, I mean, if you're going to shoot some, laser beams and EMF, I think you're your guy. But yeah, like I said, it is Mother's Day. I promised my wife I would keep this to about an hour at the most. She encouraged me to do this, so I have my wife's blessing to do this. So don't worry about my personal safety in chat. I see you all. My wife is very supportive of what I do, and when I told her, that I was going to do the Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, while we try to work on the studio and get it done, which is a great time to mention. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do. Just subscribe. I mean, it's not that hard. If you're watching this on Odyssey, BitChute, or Rumble, come over and just click the subscribe button and leave and go back. I'm cool with it. And leave a comment. That's always helpful. Please support me on Patreon and PayPal. Everything I do is free of charge. And your donations are basically the only way that I make money. So I greatly appreciate everybody who supports me, my work, my channel. If you didn't already know, everything on ClimateViewer.com, ClimateViewer.org, WeatherModificationHistory.com, everything from every single word written, every line of code written, every single graphic on there, this video, the intro graphics, the videos, everything I do by myself. I have put thousands and thousands of hours in over the last 13 years of doing this. So when you call it just hangs up, now that is rude. That is very rude. The line should be open right now. So if you want to, I'll just give that thing a quick ring-a-ling. But it should pick up. If it doesn't, I cannot explain it. I mean, unless you're like calling from some foreign nation and basically the VoIP number is like, nah, not having it. But other than that, you know what? It might be that block spam thing, which I'll just like turn off temporarily and see if that's what it is. Because sometimes it'd be doing that. All right, I turned that off. Try again. Let's see if that actually is blocking calls, because that would be ironic, don't you think? Oh, and in health related news, as some of you may notice, I'm wearing my contacts today. That's because my eye is finally getting better, and I'm able to see out of my left eye again, which is just splendid. So not only am I getting fatter, I'm gaining weight. But I'm not actually getting fatter. It's mostly muscle, I promise. But the cheeks have rounded out. I don't look like a Skeletor on here anymore, which is a good thing. I'm pretty pleasantly pleased about my cheek fatage. But being able to regain my muscle and lift things again, get back into mixed martial arts. That sort of thing. Extremely stoked about that. Oh, maybe it was the spam blocker. Hello. Hey, how's it going? This is, did you say Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin from Kalamazoo.
Kevin from Kalamazoo. Your volume's a little low, and I don't think I could turn you up any higher. But just
how about this? Is this better?
Sounds great, man. So what's up? Did I lose you? Okay. Kevin. We lost Kevin. He's still on the line, but we lost Kevin. Don't know what happened. And it hung up. We'll give Kevin one more try. Man, the internets. What do you do? What do you do? That's the nature of being live on the internet. You never know what's gonna go wrong or who's gonna try to chat on our conversation. Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went bad. It buzzed me off.
There you go. What's up, man?
Yes. So hey, we were coming down the road the other day and had the FM radio on. I was searching for channels, and we hit this channel, and it made this like tone I've never ever heard on FM radio before. Wasn't like the normal like interference you get from security systems or anything like that. It was just like a straight up, almost like that emergency tone, but not that one.
Were you on an interstate?
What's that?
Were you on an interstate?
No, we were in downtown Kalamazoo.
Okay.
And I can't tell you the number, but I will. Next time I'm down there, I'm gonna roll through the station again and find out what number that broadcast was too.
The other thing I've noticed, and you may have noticed this as well, is have you ever heard of a Texas Star 1000?
No.
Probably not. So back in the day, I used to be a little more redneck than I look on camera, and we would take our 4x4s out to the woods. We had this place called Powerline Hill, and we would race up this hill, and people would bet money on how fast, they could get their four-wheeler, their truck up this hill. And it's basically an incline like this. So, I mean, like, it's deadly dangerous. The police would, come chase us all down if we were doing it. But regardless, the guys would also be out there flexing on their CB radios. And what we realized was that, even though the FCC regulates that CB radios only be limited to 4 watts of output, you could buy amplifiers like the Texas Star 1000 watt amplifier.
Yeah, now I remember that thing.
So we had this Texas Star 1000 watt amp, and basically could get on the CB, and of course we were out driving drunk. Don't do this, people. Do not be like me in high school. But we'd be riding around drunk as hell on the CB radio going town hall crunch, and basically finding other people's channels where they were having a conversation, and then we would just key the mic up, and it would just basically obliterate anything they had to say because of the output power. And similarly, we could go up to a McDonald's and literally just key the CB radio, and because of the power coming off that antenna, that's why my brain's so fried. Just from the power coming off of it, the monitors inside the McDonald's would flicker. So there is a possibility that what you might have experienced was being in close proximity to an 18-wheeler or somebody with a CB radio that was operating. Alternatively, here in Sumter, South Carolina, the conservative radio channel that plays Dan Bongino and Hannity and Glenn Beck constantly is interrupted. Like there's like this chirping, this really high pitched squealing that occurs, and that's because it's a rebroadcast. So it's going through a satellite system back to the local community broadcasters, which is then sending it out through the FM. I grew up in a small town. I'm still there. In fact, Sumter, South Carolina is about 60,000 people, not including Shaw Air Force Base. And I left here in my 20s. I went to Oregon. I went to Omaha. I lived in Arizona for 7 years. And at the end of the day, I decided no offense to the rest of you, that most of America is fucking aliens. And I needed to move back home where people talk to strangers and black people and white people get along just fine. And that's the way it's been ever since. So yeah, I'm back where I started.
I am not going to be the guy to keep you away from your mom and your wife on Mother's Day. But I just want to say one more thing. Hey, all the information you've given about grounding, all that stuff, thumbs up, man. And
Yeah.
also, I'm Kevin. I'm Kevin from Anceps 3D. I've been trying to get a hold of you for massive time.
Dude, you sent me an email about making a website, and I didn't. I swear, I thought I responded to that. I promise you, bro. I've got it.
Call me tomorrow.
I've got it starred because I'm literally I've spent every dollar I have right now on a studio, and I'm still like short like $2,000 or $4,000. I'm trying to get this done by the end of the month. But I swear to you, it's like right here. I'll
tell you what I'm doing and stuff. It's like just give me a call when you have a minute.
Yeah, I'll do that. Plan on tomorrow. I'll give you a call tomorrow. Because
all right, brother, keep up the good fight. Tell your ladies happy Mother's Day.
I certainly will. I certainly will. And thanks for calling in, man.
All right.
Love you too, bro.
All right, take care.
You too. I swear, guys, I was gonna respond. It's crazy. If I showed you my inbox right now, you'd want to throw up. But yeah, I got a star right. I starred that email. There are very few that I go, okay, I have to respond to this one. God, man. Don't even try to reach me on Facebook. I do not read messages there. If you want to get in touch with me, go to connect.climateviewer.com. If you do, what you're going to see is that basically all my social media are on there. And the important part is that, like all of my websites, climateviewer.com, weathermodificationhistory.com, and ClimateViewer maps are at the top, along with ways to support Patreon, PayPal, my merch shop, where my videos are, this YouTube channel, my Odyssey, my BitChute, Rumble, Getter, Gab, Facebook, Twitter, all of that, Parler. I'm going to delete that. But most importantly, down here at the bottom, you can see that, ClimateViewer news, privacy policy. Nobody wants to read that. You can get 3 months off of ExpressVPN and support the channel if you want to make sure that the government's not spying on you, or all the websites you visit aren't selling your data. They don't have a clue who you are. But most importantly, at the very bottom is my email address and my phone number. So the number that's up on the screen right here, the 803-450-4305, is my business number, is a Google Voice number. It's right there on connect.climateviewer.com. So you can get in touch with me. My email address, I check multiple times a day. It's the only thing that I do check. So if you want to get in touch with me, that's the place to do it. And of course, he called about getting a website. I am not just here to beg for your donations. I make websites. I don't know if you've been to my websites, but I'm pretty damn good at it. I've won international design awards, and I do everything from desktop to folding your, up into a phone style, what's called responsive design. So the design completely changes depending on what, if you're on the iPad, a phone, or all that. And I would love to make a website for you. If you need a website, please call me. I need the money. Seriously, I want to get this studio built. And I do everything from single page, just an online business card that looks beautiful, to full-on content management systems like WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, multi-page, like, I did with that. Team Robinson, Mixed Martial Arts and Fitness. Not only do I go there, I made the website for them. And some of the other examples, Second Mill Restaurant, Ray Family Dentistry, but you can see my work here. And that, like, here's my photography setup, taking, a photo of Jerome Robinson, my master in chief at Team Robinson Mixed Martial Arts, and then using Photoshop to cut him out. So I've got the white backdrop and everything. That's how you do these cutout shots, or taking a photo of the whole team at Ray Family Dentistry. So if you're not local, I can't come take photos of you, but I can make you a website. I would love to do that. Hit me up on jim@climateviewer.com, or go to rednet.solutions. Link is at the bottom of ClimateViewer, connect.climateviewer.com. You can check that out. But Team Robinson, pretty damn beautiful website, if I do say so myself. Nice video background of us getting down. Pretty fun stuff. If you're not into MMA, especially if you have children, teach them to protect themselves. This is not me trying to sell Team Robinson, because clearly your ass ain't gonna be able to come to Sumter every day. But find your local, self-defense and learn it, because that is the best way to empower yourself. Of course, the second best way is to be armed and know how to use it. But regardless, being the weapon yourself is the best possible way. My 12-year-old daughter is already an orange belt in mixed martial arts, and she beats the ever-loving shit out of the boys in the class. And that's just facts. But yeah, this is just an example of some of my work, and I'd love to make a website for you. So, hey, that's enough of me filling for myself. I got to, though, because you know what? I got to provide for these two daughters, my 12-year-old, my 5-year-old, my beautiful wife who's hanging out in the yard to support you guys and me doing this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up now, because we are just at 1 hour and 1 minute, and I promised her, and promises are important around here. And I'm going to go grill some steaks. I hope that you do something special for that special lady in your life. If you have a mother or grandmother, you probably put it off. Call them. Call them. I have a mother, and then I have my stepmother. But guess what? My stepmother's been in my life since I was 10, and she's my mother. Just as much, if not more so, than my biological mother. And I know a lot of you have that kind of situation. Call them. If they're not nearby, call them. Tell them you love them. Thank them for not aborting you so that you could be here in this wonderful world. Stay positive. The future is only gonna get brighter. Don't be so concerned about all this temporal, fear porn going on, because the future is so bright. I gotta wear shades, and that's the attitude we gotta have. Hug someone you love, tell your parents you love them, and thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for supporting me. I'm gonna get the hell off here and go grill some steaks, because these ladies are going to be hungry here shortly. The baked potatoes are already done. And thank you all for tuning in on this Sunday chat. Next week, I promise I'm going to do it a little longer and take more calls. And that being said, I probably need to move it up to like 1 o'clock, because 3 o'clock's already getting kind of late. Yeah, it's cold here in South Carolina today. It's like 56 degrees, which is crazy cold for this late. But that's all that global warming, causing all this cold right now. Anyway, love you guys, mean it. I'm going to try to figure out how to schedule, go ahead and put a scheduled event up on YouTube so that I can hit the go live button and I connect directly to it, from Streamlabs, so that you guys will already know in advance when the show is going to be. But generally speaking, I'm always going to do a show on Sunday. I planned on it being 3 o'clock. I'm probably going to move that up to 1 o'clock on Eastern time. And there will be a video every Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday, News Day. Throwback Thursday, I'm going to do some weather modification history. So all the news on Tuesday, some history on Thursday, live show on Sunday, until I can get the whole studio thing fleshed out, and then I can do all the things as many times as I like. That being said, information comes power. Power comes great responsibility. So use that information to attack ideas, not people. It's bad. If the video resonates with you, leave me a comment because I love hearing from you all. First time here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell. Yeah! Remember, it would be impossible for me to do this without your support, so please join my Patreon or buy me a coffee on PayPal. And always, attack ideas, not people.